Pika Pika YouTube gang. It's your boy Bookoostrikes, and we are back after a very long daily hiatus with a new challenge, the Pokemon Yellow Zero E-Experience Points Challenge. Wow, that was terrible. Anyways, for the Pokemon Yellow Zero EXP Challenge, there is one simple rule. In battle, we cannot gain any experience whatsoever. The game is modified so that our Pokemon are coded to not gain any experience points, and also rare candies are illegal. To make the challenge more interesting, we've also employed a rule where we cannot use any in-battle items, and to make for more diverse strategy, we're also not going to be using any legendaries whatsoever. Now, Pokemon Yellow is one of my favorite games of all time. It's the first game I ever played, and I just want to give a quick shout out to those who are still subscribed to me. Thank you for sticking with me through these tough times. I know I've been gone for a while, but I am back with a new video. And to those that are watching and are not subbed, what are you doing? Drop a sub and support your boy. We're trying to get this video to blow up, and drop a like and share the video with your friends and word of mouth, as word of mouth is very important. Now, to prepare for the first gym leader, which is Brock, he uses all rock type Pokemon. We're going to go ahead and catch ourselves a squad of assembled members that were specialized to take down rock Pokemon. Well, no, they're not designed to take down rock Pokemon. All their moves are resisted by rock Pokemon, so that's not going to work. The first Pokemon we are going to catch though is a Pidgeotto, a level 9 Pidgeotto reinforced at a very low encounter rate. Pidgeotto is the strongest attacker we can find at this point because we cannot acquire a Mankey with low kick, nor can we get a Butterfree that has confusion. Pidgeotto only has Gust, however, being a mid-stage evolution with a decent base power attack, he will be our main offense in terms of taking down the Geodude and the Onix, because at this point in the game, all the other Pokemon are so scrubby that they cannot hope to deal any damage. We're also going to catch ourselves a Caterpie, whose purpose will be explained later on in the video. And lastly, we're going to acquire ourselves a Nidoran male and a Nidoran female, specifically two Nidoran males. Nidoran male knows Leer, which will be able to soften up the two rock type Pokemon, while Nidoran female knows Growl, which will be able to lower their attacks so that they don't end up 2-hit KOing or 3-hit KOing our Pokemon, as Brock's Pokemon are level 10 and 12 respectively, while our Scrub Brigade is sitting at level 9, then 6, and then 4 and 5. Now, in my infinite wisdom, I unfortunately caught two Nidoran females, as I thought Nidoran female had Leer at the time of recording, but instead it was actually Nidoran male that has Leer. And although it's gonna change the fight drastically, because now we only have one Pokemon that can use Leer on both of Brock's Pokemon, and we absolutely need Leer to do any significant damage to Brock, as otherwise we're gonna be doing like 1 damage per turn, and that's definitely not viable to get through this fight. So we're going to lead off with Nidoran female, as we do need to set up some growls so that Nidoran male can come in and soften up the Geodude without fear of being 2-hit KO'd. Now, Geodude's tackle at this point in the game is going to 2-hit KO the majority of our party except for Pidgeotto, so we do need Nidoran female to soften it up with some growls. Thankfully, the Geodude does miss one tackle, as tackle does have a 95% accuracy. At this point in the generation, it's only until generation 5 where they modified it so that not only does tackle 50 base power as opposed to 35, but it also cannot miss. So, thanks to our lucky miss, Geodude's attack low enough that Nidoran male can get in a couple Leers without being too weakened for the rest of our team. Well, not for the rest of our team, for Pidgeotto specifically, because Pidgeotto is going to be the one that has to take out the Geodude. And because, once again, I only caught one Nidoran male, we do have to preserve this Nidoran male for the Onix fight. So because I realized that I needed more Leers to weaken the Geodude, that means that Pidgeotto is not going to be able to stand a chance. So unfortunately, we have to sacrifice Pikachu as well to the Geodude to get the attack levels down to the lowest possible, because, well, the Geodude is very strong at this point in the game. So once Pikachu kicks the bucket, now we can finally send in Pidgeotto to go in for the very, very slow due process of taking the Geodude. I opt to go for a few sand attacks to make the fight a little easier, but unfortunately not only does he get the hit in, he also gets the crit. And if you didn't know, for Gen 1, how crit works is that crit chance is not a static number, it is instead a value based on your base speed. Essentially, the higher your base speed, the more likely you are to crit. Geodude is very slow and does not have a good chance to crit, but he gets a few lucky shots in. So Pidgeotto ends the Geodude fight with 6 HP, and this is already looking very bad for us because that Onix is going to be a terror. Onix knows Bind, Screech, Bide, and Tackle. Screech is really bad. Screech is not the worst thing in the world. Bind is really bad. Bide is actually pretty good. Caterpie's purpose here is to use String Shot because since Onix knows Bide, if you didn't know how Bide works, Bide is a move where the opponent stores up power for 2 to 3 turns, and then afterwards, any damage they took while they were charging up is dealt back to the opponent in double. Because of this, we do not want to attack Brock when he's using Bide. And Onix is a very fast Pokemon at this point in the game with 90 base speed. So by using String Shot, we can get Onix down to a speed to where the rest of our Pokemon can outspeed him without fear of us having to attack it when it's using Bide. So Nidoran female is going to get some growls in, and afterwards we're going to finally send in a Nidoran male, so that Nidoran male can weaken Brock down with some Leers and soften him up for Pidgeotto. And the reason why we're doing this is because, well, I mean, as I explained before, Onix has not only is Onix a rock type, it also has very high base defense, although it does have a very low base HP, so that does help as well. So once Nidoran male goes down, now we can send back Nidoran female to get some more growls in, and once we get it down to the minimum level, Nidoran female gets in some pot shots with Tackle. Now at this point of the fight, we are down to the very last wire with Pidgeotto versus Onix. Pidgeotto has 6 HP. Unfortunately, Onix is getting some 2 damage with some tackles, so I try to go for some sand attacks to make the fight a little easier. He still gets hit with some sand attacks, even through the sand attacks, so I just opt to go for a Hail Mary Gust. Now at this point, Onix is finally starting to miss, and now we're just going to try and end this fight, and thankfully we do manage to KO the Onix with a 2 HP Pidgeotto, and with that the fight finally ends. We get our first gym badge, and we also receive the TM Bide from Brock. And now we can move on to getting to Misty through Mount Moon. Now, as I said before, we do not gain any experience during battles, so even though I'm mainly only showing the gym leader battles, the trainer battles can get pretty tough as well, as their Pokemon are higher level than Brock's, and they come with some nasty tricks such as Poison Sting, Quick Attack, Hyper Fang. Now, I have a haiku for you folks who are looking to beat Misty, and not even just Misty, Rival 2. Catch 2 Geodudes, or Rival 2 would beat you. Seriously, do it. And you can actually soft lock yourself out of this point in the game if you don't catch at least 4 Geodudes, because the Rivals Pokemon are actually very high leveled, starting at level 18 Spearow, and at this point in the game, if you don't resist Spearow's moves, you're going to get clapped by the Spearow. And if not the Spearow, then the Eevee. Which is why I say catch a couple Geodudes, at least 4 I would recommend. Because even one Geodude has trouble with one Spearow. Now imagine having to beat down a Sandslash, a Rattata, and an Eevee. You definitely need to get yourselves a couple Geodudes. Now we can finally start preparing for Misty. And first we're going to get a Pikachu to like us so that we can get ourselves a Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is very pivotal as it does no Leech Seed. And we're going to also catch ourselves a couple Bellsprouts and an Oddish. Bellsprout knows Vine Whip and Oddish knows Absorb, and as you may or may not know, grass type moves are super effective against water types, so that's a very obvious way to deal with Misty. Bulbasaur is going to be the main MVP of this fight, as it does know once again Leech Seed, and in this generation, Leech Seed saps away a 16th of your health and heals it back to the user. So in theory, if we wait 32 turns, we can take out both the Starmie and the Staryu of Misty. Alright, so now it's finally time to face off with Misty. We're going to lead off with Bulbasaur and start off the battle with the Leech Seed. Misty does tend to go for X defend and harden at times for whatever reason. The AI of this game is very not good at all. So once you are able to lock down a Leech Seed, I don't want my other members to take down unnecessary damage, so we're going to use our Geodude as a sacrificial lamb. At this point of the game, you could also just replace the Geodude with another Bellsprout, or Oddish, or even a Pidgey, but I'm stubborn and lazy and didn't feel like going back to catch more. And plus it's also a waste of resources, as we do want to have as much money as possible for the endgame. So now that it is Leech Seeded, we can go for some Vine Whips to take out the Staryu. And now we have to deal with the Starmie, who has Bubble Beam and Water Gun. Once again, Bulbasaur is very pivotal for this fight, as Bulbasaur is able to avoid a one-hit KO from any of Starmie's moves, as it does also know Tackle and Harden. If it goes for Harden, that's great. If it goes for a Tackle move, not the best, but we get one more shot with Leech Seed. So we do manage to hit Leech Seed on the first try. It does have a chance to miss. And at this point in the fight, we do not need Bulbasaur anymore, as Leech Seed does persist until you switch out, the one affected with Leech Seed. So once Bulbasaur eventually does kick the bucket, we are going to switch out to Pidgeotto, who is going to just get some pot shot damage in. And at this point, we're also going to try and weaken it down with Sand Attack. I don't normally like evasion strategies. I think evasion is a very scummy tactic in RPGs, but at this point, we have to take what we can get. I mean, our team is level 14 and 12 versus a level 21 fully evolved Pokemon with high base stats. So now we're going to send in the Bellsprouts to just get some more pot shot damage in to try and get more Leech Seed. Unfortunately, Bellsprout does get knocked out quickly as it was weakened from the Staryu fight, but I'm not worried about this fight too much. I know the Bellsprouts can survive at full health, and thanks to Leech Seed as well, we got more sustain to get through the fight. So we go for a Vine Whip, and afterwards the Leech Seed damage comes in, and we go for one more Vine Whip, and the fight is over. We have managed to take down Misty, the second gym leader, and at this point, we are now on a set course to get through the rest of the game. Now, at this point of the game, I've actually encountered a very, very, very troubling Rocket Grunt member. Oh man, this Rocket Grunt member made me want to quit this run. So he starts off with the Machop, and his Machop knows Karate Chop. And one thing about moves that have high crit ratio in this game is that they are somehow coded to that they're almost guaranteed a critical hit based on your base speed. In this case, the Machop is practically critting with every single Karate Chop, and none of your Pokemon can survive a Karate Chop that early in the game without getting absolutely manhandled. And if you do manage to survive the Machop, there is the Drowsy, which has Hypnosis and Confusion, and sleep mechanics in Gen 1 are absolutely brutal, but I'm not going to go over them right now. You will see a battle in which the sleep mechanics are going to be abused to its full effect. And the Geodudes cannot survive Confusion, so don't even think about bringing 6 Geodudes. So for this fight, I decided to just replace a couple party members with some level 15 Pidgeys, which can be found in the route above Cerulean City. Hopefully the Pidgeys can get in some Sand Attacks so that the Machop does not just manhandle our team. And we can't even growl the Machop because critical hits ignore stat changes in Gen 1. So once we do get in some Sand Attacks, we can actually muscle through the Machop without too much casualty, as the Geodude is going to be able to get some damage in. Afterwards, we have to get to the Drowsy now. If Drowsy goes for Confusion, that's bad. If it goes for Disable, that's not the worst. Disables a random move on your team, as opposed to the last move. If it goes for Pound, that's the best move it can go for. And if it goes for Hypnosis, well, we better hope it misses. So now at this point, we can prepare for Lieutenant Surge. Lieutenant Surge is going to be a very tricky trainer to get through. So we are going to head to Diglett Cave and catch ourselves a high level Dugtrio. Doesn't really matter the level of the Dugtrio, but obviously the higher the level, the better. As once again, we are going to be using the Dugtrio as well to get through the rest of the game at a certain point. Because the Pokemon at this point are pretty low leveled, and the trainer levels can fluctuate from 15 and 17 down to like 23, 25. And Lieutenant Surge's Raichu is sitting at a hefty high level. And this fight's very spooky. In fact, let me show you how spooky this fight is. Oh boy. Wow, we got out of that with our lives still intact. Yikes. Alright, so now with Lieutenant Search down, we are down to our 3rd gym badge, and after trekking through Mount Rock Tunnel and having to battle some self-destruct hikers who are pretty annoying, but if you have a Bellsprout with Vine Whip or a team with 6 Pokemon, you shouldn't have too much trouble with Rock Tunnel. We make our way down to Celadon City, and now we're going to catch ourselves a strong flying type to take down Erica. At this point, we're going to catch ourselves a Fearow with Fly. Not with Fly, it doesn't come with Fly. We're going to head over to the house with the lady and get ourselves a Fly. We're going to teach Fearow Fly. But now we can take on Erica with our Fearow. The strategy for this fight, honestly, just go for Fly. You don't need to catch, I mean you can catch multiple Fearows if you want. I only needed 1 for this fight, but if you need more, the more is better. But it's obviously more resources being consumed, so be wary of that. But yeah, the strategy for this fight, just use Fly. Tangela is a 2-hit KO, or was it 3-hit KO? I was not even looking. My bad, folks. Tangela does have higher base defense than Weeping Bell and her Gloom, so Fly may take a bit more. We are going to use Fly and Weeping Bell. Weeping Bell is going to be a 2-hit KO with Fly, and we're just going to go for a peck because, to be honest, Fly does have a pretty bad chance to miss, and I do not want to miss her in this fight, as I do not want to rely on Dugtrio to take out the Gloom. So I already know that Fly is not going to 1-hit kill the Gloom unless we get a lucky critical, and once again, as I said before, Fly is not a 1-hit KO. And Acid is going to take out the Fearow, but I'm also not too worried for the rest of the fight. I know the Dugtrio can clean up the Gloom. As I said before, if you didn't have a Dugtrio, or if you didn't keep the Dugtrio for some reason, you could just catch another Fearow to take him out. And Dugtrio is going to go for Dig to take out the Gloom. Thankfully, we get a critical hit. I'm not even sure if that would have KO'd the Gloom past its defenses, but we'll never know because we got a critical hit. So now we finally have our 4th gym badge, and we are halfway through the Kanto region by getting all of the badges. So now we can make our way down to the Cycling Road area, but actually before Cycling Road, we're going to go fight the rival in Lavender City, because we are going to have to grab ourselves the Poké Flute to catch the Snorlaxes. At this point, the rival fight, honestly, after you take out his Fearow, the rest of his team are just scrubs. They're not even fully evolved, and they don't really provide much to the fight. I mean, there's Sandshrew, there's Shelder, there's Eevee, and there's Magnemite. They're not fully leveled, and they barely know any stab moves. So once we do get through the Pokemon Tower, we're gonna rescue Mr. Fuji from the rockets, and we're gonna grab ourselves the Poké Flute so that we can get through Cycling Road and catch ourselves a Snorlax. Snorlax is going to be very, very pivotal for the upcoming fight, and I would highly recommend catching yourselves a Snorlax. You'll see why. So we're going to use a Poké Flute to wake up the Snorlax and attempt to catch it. Snorlax does have a very low capture rate, and you are going to have to save in front of it and try again. You don't need to save up too many Great Balls for it, but a few is recommended. Next, we're going to go over to west of Celadon and catch ourselves some Kadabras. To be honest, I would recommend you only really need 2 Kadabras for the upcoming Koga fight, and if they're both level 27, that's great because level 27 Kadabras know Psybeam, while level 20 Kadabras do not know Psybeam. But before we do take on Koga, I do want to go through the Safari Zone quickly and get ourselves Surf, as well as the Golden Teeth, so that we can grab ourselves Strength. Strength is going to be very helpful for the upcoming fights, as Snorlax does only have Headbutt. Strength is stronger than Headbutt, and I don't want to teach Body Slam yet, as I do not know if I need Body Slam. Now Koga, oh man, the Koga fight is very stressful. The first Venonat, if you can't already tell, the level spike is terrible. You go from fighting a level 32 Gloom to level 44 Venonat, ending off with a level 50 Venomoth. Now that's insane at this point in the game, but we're gonna check through anyways. The first Venonat, not so dangerous. It has Tackle, it has Toxic. The next two Venonats, however, they have Double Edge and they have Sleep Powder. Sleep mechanics in Gen 1, first of all, if you get slept, when you wake up, you cannot act. And that's bad because if the Pokemon's faster than you, they could stun lock you with just sleep. Second of all, sleep can last for up to, I believe, 7 turns in Gen 1, and that is terrible. That is horrific. Like, you are pretty much just dead if you get sleep, so do not get sleep. Anyways, the Kadabras can take out the Venonats no problem. It's the Venomoth that's a problem. The Venomoth has Double Team, Psychic, Leech Life, and Toxic. Toxic is not the worst move. Psychic is really bad because it's a level 50 Venomoth and none of your team members can take one Psychic. The only team member that can take up a Psychic is the Snorlax, which it can take 2. Double Team is where the fight gets really spicy. If Koga gets bored and starts going for double teams, you're in trouble because you're not going to be hitting it and the fight should get stalled out forever. And the only move that can hit Pokemon through accuracy checks is Swift. And thankfully Swift can be bought at the Celadon store, but if you do not have Swift for this fight, I would recommend going to buy it. Unfortunately, I am very stubborn and do not go for anything Swifts. I just opted to keep using Strength. And lastly, the Venomoth Leech Life. It's not the strongest move in the world, but we are very low level, so its Leech Life is very potent. The Kadabras can barely take a Leech Life. In fact, they mostly always get O-Code unless it's a roll, and if your Kadabra's DVs are high enough. And even when the Kadabra can survive a Leech Life, its Side Beam does pretty much next to nothing damage. I mean, look at us, we're level 27, and that Venomoth is level 50. There's absolutely no way the Kadabras are going to be able to do anything significant to the Venomoth. So really, it's up to the Snorlax to carry us through the fights, because the Snorlax does have Amnesia, and Amnesia does double our special. In Gen 1, your special attack and your special defense are combined into one stat. So with that, we can use Amnesia to boost up our special so that we can survive the Venomoth. Unfortunately, however, because Psychic is normally a 2-KO on Snorlax without Amnesia, if Venomoth does crit us through Psychic, Snorlax is out of the running, and there's nothing we can do if Venomoth crits. That's why we also can't stall the Venomoth, because eventually the Venomoth will get a critical hit, and that is when Snorlax is going to go down. And also Koga tends to go for X attacks a lot, and X attack will boost his Leech Life, and Leech Life is going to restore Venomoth HP even more, and that's also another reason why we can't stall the fight, because once again, if Koga gets bored and goes for double teams, unless you got Swift, the fight is practically going to become impossible at that point. And Venomoth is prone to getting critical hits as its base speed is somewhat decent. If it goes for Toxic, that forces our Snorlax to use Rest, which once again prolongs the fight more longer than it needs to, and we do not need this fight to be any longer than it needs to. And to be honest, the Safari Zone doesn't really offer much in terms of viable Pokemon either. I mean, you have some level 37 Nidorinos that get one hit killed by Psychic. There's some Chanseys that may be able to survive a Psychic, but what can a Chansey do back in return? Chansey has pretty much 0 attack. Seismic Toss is only going to do 21 damage as Chansey only comes to level 21. Kangaskhan can maybe survive a Psychic and then hit it with Strength in return and get KO'd after. I can maybe catch some Dodrios, which I don't even think outspeed at this point in the game, and gets one hit KO'd by Psychic. So, what are our options at this point? We've got this Demon Venomoth that just destroys our team. We're going to catch ourselves the second Snorlax. And the second Snorlax is not going to be doing anything much different than the first Snorlax. It's just going to be under the tank that we can use to get to the Venomoth. So, Snorlax number 1 is just going to spam Strength until it gets weakens Venomoth enough. Snorlax number 2 is going to clean up the fight and get ourselves the 5th Gym Badge, which is finally going to get a Surf so that we can finally craft our endgame team. we're going to catch ourselves a Staryu and a Shelter, and then evolve the two with the Water Stones. Thankfully, the Water Stones do not give any experience points, so this is technically legal by the by the challenge rules. And then we're going to head over to the power plant and catch ourselves an Electrode from one of the interactable item Pokeballs. Electrode is going to be very, very useful as it is the fastest Pokemon you can get at this point. And actually, it is probably the fastest Pokemon you can catch in 0 XP challenge, as we're not going to be using Zapdos, and we can't level up anyone else, so Electrode is going to be the one that is going to outspeed everything. Also, we're going to be using Starmie and Cloyster as our premier water type attackers with ice attacks, water attacks, electric attacks. So we're going to start off the Blaine fight with, honestly, I was not paying attention, and I for some reason let off with Electrode, but it's not the worst thing in the world. I can make it work somehow. Unfortunately, Ninetales does hit us with a Confuse Ray, and that's combined with Thunder's low accuracy and the fact that our level difference is not the worst, but still pretty high-ish. Our Electrode is gonna take a beating to the face through Flamethrower, and unfortunately, I'm surprised Blaine didn't actually go for a move, but his AI did tell him to go for Quick Attack, and he gets a critical hit, and Electrode does go down. And now we can lead off with the Pokemon that was supposed to lead off the fight, which is going to be our Starmie. And now I can tell you the real strategy of this fight, which is use Surf. Seriously, just use Surf. There's no other move you have to click. Just use Surf. Water beats fire. Use Surf against the Ninetales. It goes down. What's Blaine gonna send out? Another fire type. What's the fire type? Rapidash. You know what you're doing against Rapidash? Click Surf, and you outspeed. Starmie, thankfully, is very fast. Faster than a lot of Pokemon at this point in the game. Not Electrode, but fast enough to outspeed Pokemon higher level than it. Rapidash goes for Takedown, but it misses, which is very good because we need enough HP as possible for Arcanine, as Arcanine is a lot stronger than Rapidash and also a lot tankier. So we go for our premier Surf move, and now we're going to fight the Arcanine. Arcanine is level 54, we do still outspeed thankfully, and we're gonna go for Surf. Seriously, just click Surf. Now, I'm not sure if that Surf is a roll. If it's a roll, then it could end up being a 3-hit KO. If not, then it will be a solid 2-hit KO. So we are gonna go for another Surf, and I'm really hoping it is gonna be a 2-hit KO, as I thought Starmie cannot take another Flamethrower. Unfortunately, it is a 3-hit KO. But Blaine, in his even more infinite wisdom, goes for a Super Potion because, I don't know, they gave these trainers Super Potions instead of full restores. I don't know, ask Game Freak. Anyways, we do finally take out Blaine, which nets us our 7th gym badge, and now we only need one more gym badge to beat the game. And this guy, he gives us Flamethrower and Fire Blast, and his tip, Charmeleon or Ponyta would be good bets. Dude, you could even say Rapidash or Charizard, like, why those two? Anyways, now we're gonna move on to the rival fight in the Self Company building, and there's not really much to talk about. You can kind of just plow through this fight with Starmie. If need be, you can use Cloyster, but for the most part, Starmie can efficiently clean up this entire fight. Click Surf against some Pokemon. Click Psychic against other Pokemon. If your rival's last Pokemon is going to be the Flareon, and what do you think we should do against fire types? Ice Beam? No. Psychic? Maybe. Thunderbolt? Probably not. Surf? Yes. Just click Surf. If it's not Starmie, it's closer click a Surf. And if those two are somehow down, use your Electrode or the other Pokemon in your party. This rival fight's not very difficult in this game. In the red and blue version, it's a lot more difficult because I believe he does have an Alakazam at that point. And he also has a Pidgeot, so he is a lot more formidable. And now we're going to the Giovanni fight. Honestly, Giovanni is a joke. Like, I went in there with the weakened Starmie because I just did not even care at that point in the game. Nidorino, use Psychic. Persian's a little more, not tricky per se, but if you send out your Cloyster, this is one of the reasons why I took a Cloyster. Cloyster's very, very high base 180 defense is going to be very useful in slugging through a lot of these tankier mons. that will try to use physical attacks. But for the rest of us Pokemon, click Surf and you win. And now we're going to be given the Master Ball, and who knows who we're going to use a Master Ball on? I don't know. Do you know what we're going to use it on? Next, we're going to take on Sabrina. You know, I just realized I did say we have 7 gym badges, but I went in the weird order and decided to go for Blaine before Sabrina. Anyways, the Abra only knows Flash, and even though it does only know Flash, it's still pretty bad because, like I said, if you didn't go for Swift, the Flash is going to be very annoying as you're going to start missing. We're going to set up 3 Amnesias to max out our special so that we do not get destroyed by the Kadabra and the Alakazam. Unfortunately, Abra does get Flash in. In fact, it gets 2 Flashes in, which means our accuracy is a lot lower than I want it to be. As I said before, if you didn't go for Swift at this point in the game, go for Swift, because don't be stubborn like me. I'm very stubborn and lazy and didn't go for Swift. So next up is the Kadabra, and funny enough, the Kadabra's defenses are so low that strength is still a 1-hit KO, but there is a reason for that, and I gotta talk about something later on in the video, but not right now. Let's go look at this Alakazam. Look at this Alakazam. We got 3 Amnesias up, but Alakazam's base speed is so high, it just crits us and we die. A shame, a shame, a shame. Next, we're gonna go for Electrode, who is gonna try and paralyze this Alakazam, because we do, at this point, I don't know what to do now. I accounted for the crit, but I didn't think it would happen that fast. Sabrina does go for an X defense to raise his defenses, I guess. And I got greedy in my, oh boy, I'm not very smart. I got greedy and went for Light Screen so I could take a Sidekick. And what do you think happened? I'll let you know what happened. I got critical hit and Electrode kicked the bucket very quickly. So now I'm really in a bind now because I only have Starmie and Cloyster left. Fearow and Bellsprout are not going to be doing much. Cloyster, because we did paralyze the Alakazam, we do outspeed the Alakazam with Cloyster. I missed my first clamp, but we go for a second clamp. And for trapping moves in this generation, when you get trapped by a trapping move such as clamp or bind, you can't move. You can't make any attacks, and if you're slower than the Pokemon that you're being bonded by, you can effectively be stun locked until you die. And it's a very broken mechanic that everyone is glad they changed going from Generation 1 to Generation 2. Unfortunately, Sabrina's Alakazam does not recover, so now we're going to have to repeat the process of trying to beat down the Alakazam. And while we're here, I can explain why the Snorlax wanted to kill the Kadabra. You see, in this generation, there is a mechanic called the Badge Boost Glitch. Essentially what happens is when you collect the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th badge of Kanto, your Pokemons receive a hidden stat boost, specifically 12.5 to their stats by attack, speed, defense, and special, respectively, depending on which badge you got. Now, when you used a boosting move such as Amnesia, Harden, or Swords Dance, that boost from the badge boost is also applied again to the Pokemon. It's not supposed to be coded that way, it's actually glitched. So in this case with the Snorlax, because I used Amnesia 3 times, which means not only did my special go up by 6 levels, my attack and defense and speed also went up by 3 levels, which made my Snorlax into effectively a monster. It got essentially a 37.5% boost to its attack, defense, and speed, which is why my Snorlax was able to 1-hit KO that Kadabra with strength. I don't really abuse this mechanic too much in this because I don't really need to. And now we're going to go on to Giovanni to get our last gym badge. Giovanni's team is slightly more varied than your average team. It's not all ground types. Wow, shocker. Anyways, we're going to lead off with Starmie to take out his Dugtrio. And Dugtrio, see, there is a Pokemon that's going to outspeed a Starmie. Dugtrio does have very high base speed, so it is prone to critting a lot. But it is very frail, so it cannot take a Surf, which is exactly what a Starmie does. Next up, it's going to settle the Persian, and like before with this previous Persian, we're going to have Cloyster take on the Persian as its base 180 defense. It's perfect for taking on a Pokemon like this that uses physical moves. So it's gonna go for Fury Swipes, and unfortunately, it does get a lucky critical hit. Well, it's not really lucky. Persian is very fast, so it is gonna get that sort of leverage with high critical hit ratios. Unfortunately, because it's not weak to Surf, it is gonna be able to take at least 3 Surfs to the face before it does go down. Giovanni does love to go for Guard Special a lot, and pretty much all that does is, I'm pretty sure it just prevents stat decreases, or does it prevent status? I honestly don't even remember, but it's not very important, as we're not going to be going for either of those. We're just going to be going for pure damage to take out the Persian. It does go for Double T, which it's annoying, but hey, we hit through it with Surf, and we took out the Persian. And now he's going to send on his Nidoqueen, and I just opted to keep in Cloyster just because I didn't want to start me to take the Brute. I forgot that the Nidoqueen had Double Kick, and thankfully, as I said before, Cloyster's base 108 defense allows it to eat up that double kick like it's nothing. And although Nidoqueen is weak to Surf, Nidoqueen does have a not monstrous HP stat, but its bulk is good enough to where it might be 3 KO. Giovanni, in his addiction to Guard Spec, goes for another Guard Spec to, I guess, protect his Nidoqueen. I don't know. The guy's a nutcase. Anyways, now he's gonna send out his Nidoking. I already know his Nidoking outspeeds the Cloyster, so we're gonna see what happens. He goes for a Thunder, and I did not know it had Thunder. I did not do enough research, and at this point in the fight, now I'm scared because that Thunder is pretty scary. Because I know Starmie cannot take a Thunder, so I decided to send in Snorlax to try and get in some leverage damage. Nidoking does want to go for a Double Kick, but thanks to Snorlax's high enough HP stat, actually I don't think it survives. Nope, it does not survive the Double Kick. Oh well. Now it's up to Starmie to take out the Nidoking, but first, a little word from our sponsor, Electrode. Thankfully, Electrode is fast enough, so we are going to go for a self-destruct to try and get some chip damage in, as Starmie is going to need some help to take out the Nidoking, because at that point, I didn't know I was going to go for Thunder on the Cloyster. And now that I know that, Starmie can definitely not take a Thunder. Compared to Psychic and Surf, Surf does have a 95 base power as opposed to 90, so I was hoping Surf would take it out, and we get a critical hit on the Nidoking. Honestly, I didn't know if it was going to KO the Nidoking after that, but you know what, we're going to take it because I didn't know what was going to happen. And Rhydon is very, very simple. Just go for Surf, it is 4 times weak to water moves, Rhydon does not stand a chance, and with that, we actually finally have all our gym badges without gaining any experience points. And the only challenges left are the last rival fight and the Elite Four. Will we be able to take on the Elite Four? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, Lorelei's Dewgong starts off at level 53, and the Pokemon scale into the high 60s, so who knows if we'll be able to take it on. Find out next time on part 2. And if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe and tell your friends about it. And with that, Bookoo out. Peace.